This is your reminder that plans are conditional, and when you inevitably get off track, you can always return to the savings order of operations. Hi, I'm AJ Ayers, and I write the Substack Money Changes Everything. 2025, the year I got a book deal and forgot how to golf. 2025 was fine. In personal finance land, the S&P 500 is up about 17% this year. Interest rates for borrowers have come down, and everyone seems cautiously optimistic in a way that still indicates this pit in our stomachs that it's all going to come crashing down. Layoffs have slowed, and dinner party conversations are drifting back toward, "So, what are you working on?" instead of, "Are you okay?" Against that backdrop, my own year unfolded. I was rich in accomplishments and box checking. So much went right. I won't bore you with the details of how many years of hard work it took to get to this point, because what I have learned in my 37 years on this earth is that hard work is table stakes. Achieving things you set out to accomplish takes a lot of work, and our brains often make us forget the pain it took to get there. I'm most proud of the sheer number of words I wrote this year. 52 Substack essays with an average length of 2,000 words, plus a big old nonfiction book. By my estimates, I wrote more than 250,000 words this year. I wrote in airport lounges, by pretty European links, but mostly in my home office in Brooklyn, staring past my giant monitor at my husband's Peloton. Actually, ChatGPT created this wacky little image for me as a wrap-up for my year that does include a Peloton. 2025 was the year I decided to move past my self-loathing and just go for it. I wanted to make this little Substack work. I wanted 10,000 people to read my essays about money every week. We didn't get there, but we'll get to about 4,400 by December 31st. I think that's pretty cool. I hired help, and it turns out the secret to growing an audience is both simple and challenging. You have to do it consistently, and you have to put out good content, like every day consistently. That was a shift for me. I never wanted to be a personal finance influencer, but the more I wrote, the more I realized I actually had something to say, and apparently people like video. Hi. If you want people to read your work, they have to be able to find it. So if you want more of my sane, measured takes on money, you can subscribe on YouTube or follow me on Instagram. I also have a TikTok, but I don't really log into that. My team does that. I also spent too much time staring at my phone. I walked 1,500 steps less per day in 2025 than I did the previous year. I was a bit more sedentary because I was writing so many goddamn words. My golf game, something that makes me supremely happy, suffered, and I didn't get to play as much as I wanted to. I also did 3 rounds of IVF. That's in vitro fertilization, for those who don't know. That shit sucks. I'm sorry if this is part of your story. It's part of mine, and I'll write about it someday. Infertility is a unique flavor of private pain. It tempered a lot of my success this year because the heartbreak was so overwhelming. But like millions of women before me, I persisted. A reminder that even when you're going through it, life is rich and full. Earlier this year, I wrote about the things I wish I'd done sooner in my career, and one of them is a brag sheet. I wrote, "I wish I started keeping a record of my achievements, promotions, raises, freelance pitches. When the time comes to craft an ask for one of these things, it's also much easier if you already have concrete examples at your fingertips to use as templates. And that means always having an updated resume or website with all of your stuff on it." So here's my list of accomplishments for 2025. My wealth management firm, Brooklyn FI, crossed $500 million in assets. That's a lot of money being cared for and turned into dreams. It sounded pretty cheesy, huh? I was interviewed by Michael Kitces, who's not only a titan in my industry, but also a wonderful and generous human being. That was a career highlight. I wrote an original Substack every friggin' week. I think the one about the savings order of operations is my favorite. If you go back and read one of my posts, let it be that one. This year, unexpected costs were a setback to my savings goals, but I got right back on track. If you're in a season where your financial goals feel derailed, this is your reminder that plans are conditional, and when you inevitably get off track, you can always return to the savings order of operations. I took 38 flights and flew 69,000 miles. I am tired. All of that travel represents tons of adventures with people I love. It also represents numerous speaking engagements at conferences, something I committed to doing more of and successfully achieved. I set out to max out all my retirement accounts and contribute monthly to my taxable brokerage account. I'm pleased to say that I was able to achieve this. I started this Substack in January with the aim of writing a book. My now editor reached out after my 4th week of publishing. That was crazy. But it wasn't just those 3 weeks of work that paid off, see above. That was 6 years of brain-breaking work to get the experience and confidence to write about money. So yes, I got a book deal and wrote a whole ass book. It's called Creative Money, and you can expect it on shelves in November of 2026. Things that don't warrant bragging about that happened this year. I set a goal of reading 40 books. I didn't get there. I read somewhere between 25 and 30 books, considering I have at least 5 unfinished books on my nightstand and in various tote bags scattered around my house. One of my goals this year was to practice golf more and to get better. That took a serious backseat. I was aiming to practice once a week, but I think it ended up being about 10 times total. My swing suffered, and I got out of shape. But I still had fun, I took it less seriously, playing occasionally and not worrying about my score. In 2026, I'm going to recommit to staying in golfing shape and get my handicap down from a 20 to a 17. Looking at my brag sheet reminds me of all the things I accomplished this year and gives me a moment to celebrate them. But in between all the striving to achieve my goals, there were a lot of great things that happened this year that weren't necessarily goals, but just things that I really enjoyed and are worth celebrating as well. The best books I read: literary fiction, Perfection by Vincenzo Latronico, King of Ashes by S.A. Crosby, and Babel by R.F. Kuang. The best book I read nonfiction was Second Life by Amanda Hess. The best album I listened to was Lux by Rosalia, and I can't wait to see her at Madison Square Garden in June. The best thing I ate was Quang Ninh-style clams at the Paper Bridge in Portland, Oregon, with my childhood friend, Michelle, and got to meet her little baby, so that was definitely a highlight of my year. And finally, there were a bunch of people I met who I'd read their work on Substack, and I got to meet them in real life. Rachel Lipson of The Point by Brooklyn Family Travelers. She's deeply serious about points and deeply kind about people. You trust her advice because she's clearly done the work and actually wants it to help you. Emily Fishman of How It Feels. A chance encounter through a mutual led me to her work. Her drawings of everyday life in New York City will put a smile on your face, and her longer essays are powerful too. Lindsay Stanberry of The Purse. Okay, so to be fair, I already knew Lindsay through a mutual friend. Not only does she write one of the best personal finance Substacks, she's also a generous connector. A guest essay on deducting childcare from The Purse is one of the best things I read this year. Heather Bonaparte of The Joint Accountant. I met Heather at a conference early in 2025 and thought that her raw insights about money and partnership were invaluable. She's also a blast to hang out with. Hannah Horvath of Your Brain on Money. Hannah's writing is thoughtful, precise, and unwilling to dumb things down. She looks at the data and relates it to how you save and invest money. Her work makes you pause and actually think, which is rare in money content. Brent Sullivan of Tax Alpha Insider. Brent's Substack is like delicious candy for my tax-obsessed brain. The depth of his work suggests an entire research department. It turns out it's just one guy with very good ideas and a serious work ethic. My favorite line of his: who gives a shit about tax benefits if the investment tanks? Oh, and he really is a lovely, down-to-earth human who also loves Lord of the Rings. Substack is great, but the in-person hangs are even better. This year reminded me that you can be productive and exhausted, successful and grieving, proud and deeply dissatisfied with your golf swing. None of these things cancel each other out. They just coexist. While I accomplished a lot in 2025, I'm already excited and looking forward to the new year. Speaking of 2026, my goals are simple. Well, at least the ones I'm sharing publicly for now. My goals for 2026: spend more time in libraries and bookstores, play less golf, more practicing golf, reach 10,000 followers on Substack. Come on, guys, forward this. See Creative Money on the New York Times bestseller list. I'm wishing you a happy, healthy, and wealthy 2026. Join me in January for some down-to-earth goal setting focused on money and career. See you then.